The things I forgot to mention in that little litany is the Chinese officials are saying, well, we might not want to be buying any more American debt. How are you going to pay for this? The national debt's at $9 trillion now and headed north. How are you going to pay for all these things you want to do?
Well, $10 to $12 billion per month, $196 billion just for next year's request alone, that's a big chunk of change. And so if we can phase down the war in Iraq, that's going to start helping us on the money front. I do think that we've got to create a more efficient Washington. I have called for more transparency and accountability when it comes to things like earmarks. We have to prioritize how we're spending money in Washington. And one of the things that I think it's important for Democrats to communicate is just because I'm a progressive and I believe in early childhood education spending and I believe in after-school spending and I believe in a lot of these programs, doesn't mean I don't think there's waste in government. I just think we're spending it in the wrong places. And we've got to go after no-bid contracts to Halliburton. We've got to close corporate tax loopholes where you've got companies you've got a building in the Cayman Islands where 12,000 companies supposedly are located. Now that's either the biggest building in the world or the biggest tax ripoff in the world, and we've got to do something about it.
Politicians have their own ideals and plans for how America should be run. And it may not sound like they're talking about money when they're campaigning, but the whole Democrat versus Republican thing is really about where American tax dollars should be going. So before you dive in on either side, it might be a good idea to get a handle on how we the people are currently spending our tax dollars. Before we start, there is a quick thing to note. These numbers are from 2013 and do not include Social Security or Medicare. The money for those programs is determined by the Federal Insurance Contributions Act tax and not the annual budget, so politicians can't do much to change the amount of taxes that go to those programs. Here are the programs that the federal budget does touch. Around 8 cents on every dollar goes toward paying interest on our debt. This is another one that's largely non-negotiable, but it's a significant amount and worth mentioning here. 17 cents out of every dollar is spent on government programs like subsidizing and supporting agriculture, commerce, transportation, and governmental administration, or on science and space technology, things like NASA and the National Science Foundation, international affairs, which includes things like the State Department and all non-military foreign aid. Some of the budget goes to responding to natural disasters or to community and regional development, which includes things like waste disposal and urban development. That 17 cents also goes to the environment, including the Parks Department and managing our natural resources and energy development, or to immigration, border control, and the Justice Department. We also have a program for education and jobs training. All of that combined accounts for the 17 cents out of every income tax dollar. And when you think about how many important programs we just mentioned, it really doesn't seem like a lot. So where is the real money going? Around 50% of our budget goes toward keeping our citizens healthy and out of poverty, which is a pretty good place for it to be. Almost 19 cents on every dollar is spent on jobs and family security, things like unemployment insurance, food assistance, housing assistance, federal retirement funds, foster care, and temporary assistance for needy families. Veterans benefits also fall into this portion of the budget. They account for an additional 6 cents on every dollar. And healthcare programs like Medicaid, disease control, and numerous others account for an additional 25 cents. Again, that's half the budget. The well-being of our citizenship is something that most politicians can get behind. Something else most politicians can get behind is national defense, which accounts for almost 1/4 of our national budget. But before you get upset about how we are spending almost as much on the military as we are on medical services, let's talk a little bit about where that defense budget actually goes. Yes, the majority of it is spent on building weapons and conducting military operations, but 5.97% of it goes toward personnel salaries and benefits. That 6 cents is literally how we are supporting our troops. Some of that defense budget is also going towards maintaining our nuclear defense capabilities, and another portion of it is going to defense-related FBI activities. Plus, the U.S. military has almost 16,000 square miles of bases and facilities to maintain. So that 24.79% isn't all going towards bombs and invasions. Some of it is just there to maintain the troops, bases, and equipment we already have. If you found this video informative, please subscribe to the show. Subscribing is the best way to get these videos to you, and make sure that you see all 5 of our videos that we put out each week.
What country do we owe the most money to?
I have no idea.
Would you be surprised that the most money we owe to is America?
Yes. No, actually I wouldn't.
How do you think? What do you think would be the best way to fix the economy?
Get rid of all of our presidents.
What country do we owe the most money to?
China.
Would you be surprised the most money we owe to is ourselves?
No.
How can we make the economy better?
Stop spending money on dumb shit.
What country do we owe the most money to?
China.
Would you be surprised that the most money we owe to is America?
How?
Alright. How can we fix the economy?
By making more U.S. products.
What country do we owe the most money to?
China.
Would you be surprised the most money we owe to is America?
Yeah.
How can we fix the economy?
By controlling our expenses at the White House.
What country do we owe the most money to?
China.
Would you be surprised at the most money we owe to ourselves?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Now, how would you think we can make the economy better?
Think about that one. We can make more jobs. We can, yeah, we can make more jobs.
Both Democrats and Republicans complain about America's national debt, what a looming crisis it is, and how we have to do something about it. And well, they should. The numbers defy comprehension. Currently, the debt stands at around $17 trillion, much of that coming in just the last few years. To put it simply, our government spent $17 trillion more than it took in. That's one huge deficit, wouldn't you say? How did it happen? To answer that, we have to focus on 3 programs: Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Social Security is a government pension program for people over 65. Medicare is a government health insurance program for people over 65. And Medicaid is a government health assistance program for people who can't afford to buy insurance. The debt picture has admittedly become a little more complicated and more severe because of the massive increases in government spending on unemployment benefits and other federal assistance programs related to the 2009 recession. But the big 3, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, remain at the center of the problem. In fact, spending in every other area, including defense, all other appropriations, and other federal entitlements, though significant, make up a smaller share of the economy than has historically been the case. These 3 programs are not new. The first Social Security check was issued on January 31st, 1940. Medicaid and Medicare came into existence in the mid-60s during the administration of Lyndon Johnson. All 3 programs were greatly expanded in 1972 during the Nixon administration. And every year they gobble up more and more of the federal budget. How much more? Just listen to these numbers from the Congressional Budget Office. In 1970, these 3 programs accounted for 21% of all federal spending. By 2012, they accounted for 42% of all federal spending. And now, we've added a 4th new federal assistance program, the Affordable Care Act of 2010, otherwise known as Obamacare. Just to give you one example, Medicare Part B, the part of Medicare that covers doctor services, was originally projected to cost $500 million a year. In 2012, it cost $164 billion. Whatever you think about the value of these programs, how are we going to pay for them? The Congressional Budget Office projects that before today's 25-year-olds are ready to receive Medicare, these 4 programs, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and the Affordable Care Act, are expected to cost more than all the money the government collects in taxes. That would mean we would have to borrow money to pay for everything else: our armed forces, road repair, everything. So what do? Well, we could increase taxes massively. But to raise the kind of money we'd need, we'd have to significantly increase taxes on everybody, especially the middle class. That means taking a lot more money out of your paycheck and mine. Because if you think we could get what we need from the rich, well, think again. If we took all the earnings of people who make more than $1 million, a 100% income tax, that would only net us a little more than $600 billion. And obviously, we could only do that once. The second answer, and much more practical one, is to cut spending. Specifically, cut the rate of growth of the 3 legacy programs: Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. That doesn't mean spending less money than we already are. It simply means not increasing our spending as fast as we have been. Social Security would be a good place to start. In 1940, the average life expectancy of an individual in the United States was less than 65, the age at which people begin to get Social Security. Today, average life expectancy in the U.S. is almost 80. Obviously, it's time to move the age at which Americans receive Social Security to reflect our longer lifespan. There are a lot of common sense reform ideas out there, but if we don't enact a few of them soon, we're just going to continue to watch the debt grow bigger and bigger. This issue, controlling spending, should be of intense interest to everyone, but especially Americans under 30. If we go on spending much more than we take in, they're the ones who are going to be left holding the bag. So the next time a politician proposes a generous new government benefits program, the first question should be, where is the money going to come from to pay for it? And if he or she is honest, there's only one answer: from you. I'm Michael Tanner of the Cato Institute for Prager University.
Join Prager University, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and sign up for free at prageru.com.